All right, we are live. Okay, super.
Oh, man.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so I am so excited today. I am so excited because today I get to have a whole conversation with Sarah Blaine. Now, I don't know if you ever heard of her, but I am telling you, I am a huge fan of Sarah, and I want to give you a little bit, tell you a little bit about who she is and what she's into. Sarah is a mom, and she is a mutual aid organizer, and she is a humanist communications professional. I love this already. She's got more than 20 years of political and nonprofit communications experience, and she invests her time and her talent advancing direct democracy, mutual aid, and freedom of association. And she does this through public policy and through grassroots community organizing. Can y'all see why I just love this woman so much? Oh my God. She currently runs Spectrum Experience. It is a humanist communications firm. And she also serves on the inaugural board for the nonprofit industrial complex. It's a fiscal sponsorship nonprofit that collaborates with mutual aid communities around the world in order to supplant unjust donor centered models of charity and advance strong local networks of care. Y'all know this is my heart. Now, she is also a student and FLAS fellow for Haitian Creole at Florida International University, and she is studying Latin American and Caribbean studies and exile in literature. Now, I could have saved all those words and just told y'all she's a superstar, but I wanted you to hear the whole story because I just didn't want you to take my word for it. But now you know she's a superstar, and I could not be more honored and more excited to have this conversation with you, Sarah. There's a lot we could talk about. We may need to have a whole conversation about communications in a separate program because
Seriously.
that's so important
Yeah.
when we're trying to change the world.
Yeah.
Um, but today, I really want to focus on your work at Nonprofit Industrial Complex. I want to thank you for being here and just express my gratitude for not only for your sharing with us today and being here today, but also for all you do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I don't know if I can match your energy level, though.
Just be natural. Whoever we
Yeah.
just want you to be natural. This is
Yeah.
just all about everybody is different, and we're all just bringing our own selves, full selves to the table, right?
Yeah. It's so interesting listening to my bio because I feel like so much of what I'm doing now with mutual aid work and the nonprofit industrial complex is specifically designed to undermine all of the work I've done professionally in political and nonprofit work. So it's like, how do I explain who I am and what I do? Because there are so many contradictions in this work.
I completely understand that. I have a political business,
Yeah.
and it is sort of like you said. There's these contradictions. I think for me, I just sort of resolve it that we have to operate on two levels
Right.
because we don't exist in a vacuum. We don't our values don't exist in a vacuum, and we don't live in this perfect world that we would have. You know, these mutual aid networks and very low interference from coercive forces. Right? We don't really have that, so we have to operate on both levels because we can do all of these things over here on this side, only to have it someone legislate against it on another side. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And now, I mean, I'm hearing stories of people telling me, they're going out and they're trying to get homesteads and they're doing all of these things. And then now you can't, now all of a sudden there's 100 things you can't do with your property anymore, right? Or whatever. And that's why we have to operate on both levels to make sure that until we get to that place where we want to be, we sort of have to operate on multiple planes. So,
Yes. Absolutely.
so nonprofit industrial complexes. I love the name. Tell me a little bit about the organization. What do you do, and how did you land there? What was your motivation? How did you end up with this thing?
So what we do is we provide fiscal sponsorship for mutual aid groups. And what that means is that if there are little groups in the community doing work and they're not large enough to have their own 501c3, or for values reasons don't want to structure their organizing in that way, we can provide some of the necessary legal framework for them to be able to collect donations, to have a bank account, to be able to be insured for events. And so it's and we named it the Nonprofit Industrial Complex as sort of a joke, making fun of the fact that our models of charity do exist this way, in this, very flawed system that reproduces the systems that create the need for charity to begin with. And it shouldn't exist. We want to empower the mutual aid groups to supplant the nonprofit industrial complex. We want to be out of business. There shouldn't be a business. This work should not be a business.
Yeah. If we're successful, we will go out of business.
Yes. Kind of thing, right? Yes. Yeah. And the way that I landed here, I was trying to think of whether there's a succinct way to explain how I got to this place, and there isn't. But the organization itself is a little bit straightforward. I had been doing mutual aid work with Central Florida Mutual Aid, and they had been having, as they're trying to get financial solidarity, having individual organizers take the funds into their own Cash App or Venmo. And there's limitations with that before you have to report to the government. There's some tax liability issues if people are doing GoFundMes. So it was causing some anxiety in that organizing work for folks, and they were not wanting to be a 501c3. They didn't want to have their organizers have to put their their addresses on the Corporation Commission website, and they didn't want to have a hierarchical structure. So trying to figure out what can we do to support that. And also at the same time, professionally, I was doing communications work for an organization that gives small grants to mutual aid groups all over the world. And some of the groups in developing countries had a lot of difficulty getting funds to them. It's not, you can't use PayPal for Nigeria, there's all these hoops. So they were just going to not send grants to groups in those countries because it was too labor intensive for the administration to get the money there. So I just in brainstorming, like, how can we solve these problems? It seems like the same solution for both of these issues that I'm seeing, and that's to have a fiscal sponsorship organization that can collect the funds and get the money where it needs to go and take on that administrative burden. And as soon as we did that, all of a sudden, and just, we get dozens of requests now for fiscal sponsorship. It's a really huge need. There are a lot of little groups of people doing awesome things in their community that don't need to be a registered corporation. But there are all these legal barriers for them to be able to do their work. And so we're trying to get that out of their way so they can do their stuff.
That's it. That's it right there. What's so amazing is because we talk about communities coming together to do things. And but there's a process, right? There's a people don't just get together and say we're going to have a block party. Like it doesn't just happen by magic, right? And somebody's got to collect the funds, and and until we've developed those relationships of trust, and until we've created these actual communities, until we're actually in community with one another, we're still getting to know each other. We're still building trust. And so if I come next door to somebody, not my next door neighbor, maybe I know my next door neighbor, but maybe the people 3 or 4 doors down, and I say we're going to have a block party where everybody's putting in $20, they're going to look at me like, well, Yeah, but who's taking the $20? And do I know
Right.
you? And like, what are we doing? You know, like, and then you want something that's as least resistance as with as little
Right.
resistance as possible, right? Like now we don't have to have a big organized meeting every week now because this and that. Like if there's this entity that it's really about like this accountability and it helps people to build trust over time so that eventually, yeah, maybe they do decide, they want to do a formal structure, or maybe they know each other well enough and they don't have to do that anymore. Or they've decided that they can do it some other way. So when you say that you get a lot of people that are reaching out to to do this, like can you give me like some examples of types of projects that that are and maybe in your mind
Yeah,
you might
I
be
have
doing?
just because I just got an email this morning from some organizers who are doing a big fundraising push to help trans folks get their various paperwork registered quickly because of the recent election. Folks are really anxious to get that done. So they've raised something like $15,000, and so now it's like this amount of money that is really difficult for a group of individuals to hang on to. So they need help with banking, and they'll be able to expand who they can ask for financial solidarity from if there's a C3, because people like the tax break. And so I'll be having a conversation with them later this weekend to see if we can partner with them. We just brought on a new neighborhood fridge collective in Denver that has a series of fridges throughout the Denver metro. The A lot of like abortion and reproductive health access networks. A lot of food security. There's a lot of different creative approaches to food security that we hear from. So it's really cool to be able to hear about so many different kinds of projects. And then there's one in the Pacific Northwest. I can't remember if it's Seattle or Portland, but they're collecting writing, like poetry and prose from unhoused folks and paying them and creating a book. And this is like a lot of people have published works of unhoused folks, but they don't get paid. Like it's not. So this is kind of a cool project. So we're looking at that, just all kinds of stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. So how would someone like it can be just a couple of people. I
Yeah.
mean, tell me like give me some nitty-gritty. Like how do people like if me and my across the street neighbor decide we want to do something, do we write you at that point or what do we do? Like how does this work?
Yeah, I mean, if you have an idea and we can have a conversation, absolutely. Yeah, and it is different, very different levels. At like the writing project is those conversations we're having in really early. They're still planning stuff out and don't know exactly what they're going to need from us. Versus the Denver fridges had $30,000 in the bank with a different fiscal sponsor and have their accounting systems in place and so forth. So it's really different levels of organization. And really what we want to do is be as responsive to whatever the creative work is that's happening. It's an interesting tension to try and exist as an organization with infrastructure, but also to be as flexible as possible so that people can be really spontaneous with their organizing.
What if I'm listening to this and I just think this is the most amazing thing ever because I do, and everybody that's listening to it does. But I don't have a project right now, but I just really believe in what you're doing. How are there ways for people to support you?
Yeah, I mean, financial solidarity is for sure always a big need, and just amplifying the organization. We if if there are folks who have volunteer capacity, both our administrative team and any of the groups that we sponsor are always looking for volunteers. So our website is nonprofit.fund, and we have an email there. Folks can reach out. And yeah.
I'm gonna put that on the screen right now. I'm gonna put it on. I think I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on. Let's see how you do this. So, and what, and like if the, like how, like if I was to like, let's say I wanted to have like a block party in my neighborhood, and I decided, I want to do something this spring in the block party, and I just want like everybody, like we're gonna have a potluck, and we need a DJ, and we need a bounce house. And me and my next door neighbor decided what we wanted to do, and we would go to the website and submit an
Yeah,
application. Is that what it's
we don't
called?
have an application yet. Right now, it's just
It's an email. Okay.
just email. Let us know what you need. And with something like that, we could have a fundraising page for the project, and do reimbursements or disbursement. How help get the purchases that the group needs, and have a discussion about whether insurance is something that would be
Okay.
needed or desired.
Okay. Wow. I mean, people don't really think about that. Like, I wouldn't have thought about that.
No, I have learned a lot about insurance as we've started to do, and I've tried to be as disconnected from all of these sort of like corporate nonprofit things, like how much of this can we avoid, like what do
Yeah.
we have to,
Yeah.
because I don't want to waste money on, but it's really, I mean, like some of the fridges, if they want to have a space to put their fridge, like a business owner may say, yeah, I'm happy to put it in the back of my alley, but it has to be insured.
Yeah.
So that it's just, and some of the work that folks are doing in terms of protests, and there's some liability if somebody gets hurt,
Right.
and
I mean, these
yeah,
are just the
we're looking
realities.
at
Yeah.
it really,
These
yeah.
are just the
So
realities that we live in. We have to, like I said, we have to be in these two systems. We're
right.
operating in two sets of systems, and one is a more ideal system for from our perspective is more ideal, but we're not there yet, and so we sort of have to
Right. It's,
navigate both.
yeah, just how are we're trying to build the world that we want to live in, but we exist in this world that we're trying to dismantle, and we have to play on the field we're on to some extent while
Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
so it's, yeah, it's hard to kind of figure out the right balance of uh, where do we participate in that system? Where is our participation helping to prop it up too much? Where is the participation neutral? Can it ever be neutral? There's it's it's a lot
I
to
think
think about.
I think for me, part of what would be part of my consideration is whether or not I'm dealing with someone who is at least aligned with those values. I mean, I recognize that we can't have things exactly the way that we might want them to be right now today, but the fact that we have these values that are in alignment means that you are looking at some of the same things and asking a lot of the same questions that I would, as an individual. And and so that's important. And so I'm grateful that that's I think that's important, and I think people care about that. What are some of the biggest challenges that you think that you have as an organization, and what are some of the challenges that you think Well, I'll start with that question, and then I'll move into a different one.
I think so. Financial solidarity for the administrative part of what we do, which is actually like what we do, is challenging because it's difficult to explain sort of what we do to folks who aren't already kind of in this world. It's the labor for our organization is all boring. Like it's, we do 100% of the boring work. Like that's the idea of our organization, is to take all of this bureaucratic nonsense that is in the way of the organizers and do it so that they can do organizing, because that's what they're good at. So it's a hard sell for volunteers sometimes, although I know there are people out there that love a spreadsheet. So if you're one of those people, come to us. So, and I'm a person who is a builder. Like I like to start things. I get ideas. I see where something is missing, and I like to build it. And now we're kind of at a stage where we're like, okay, we have to stabilize, and it's not as much of the building idea stuff now as the detail stuff. So we're always looking for detail-oriented folks who love a spreadsheet. I think another thing that is really challenging is getting financial solidarity to our international mutual aid groups. I mean, it's difficult for all of our groups because all mutual aid by its definition is, folks who are experiencing a problem being the ones who are fixing it. So these are always kind of folks who are at the margins, who have a lot of challenges in their communities. So it's always hard, but particularly the international groups are in this country, we do not care.
Right.
And it's very hard to be in daily communication with folks in Haiti, with folks in Zambia, like the day-to-day. I mean, one of our organizers this past week in Haiti, when she went to the bank to pick up her funds, was robbed and stabbed. And she's doing all right, but she, had to go to the hospital and get stitches, and it's just like, it's horrific. It's really conditions that I can't imagine organizing under. And then, when I learned that this happened, like the powerlessness that I feel, because it won't matter if I take this story to my network on social media. I won't be able to raise more money for her. I just won't. We've tried. People just have given up on Haiti because they feel like the money just goes nowhere. And the story itself is, she went to the bank to pick up the funds. Now the funds are gone. So people feel like we just send money and it's
sure. Well, tell me what she's doing. Maybe people will hear this and want to help.
So Marie's organization is Femmes Victimes, and they organize Femmes Victimes.
Okay.
It's women victims. Mm-hmm. And she organizes women in tent camps. There's still a lot from the hurricanes and earthquakes and so forth. There are people who have been in tent camps for years and years and years, and they're becoming kind of permanent infrastructure. And the sexual violence there is pretty extreme. So she organizes women to advocate for each other, to speak out and go to the authorities where there are authorities. That's an issue in Haiti right now, too. There's just kind of not a government structure to even go to. So they really do have to take care of each other. And just finding ways to stay connected with each other and keep each other safe, since that's not something that's happening outside of, from the outside. So, and just the fact that she was a victim of such violence this week just underscores the necessity of the work that she's doing. And I just, the fact that she continues to do, I mean, she's been getting, rape and death threats for the whole time that I've known her. and she just is bravely organizing.
Wow. I'm really sorry that that happened to her, and I'm thankful for
I,
what you're doing. Maybe someone who's hearing this today has capacity and can come
yeah,
step in, because that's really what it's all about.
yeah,
It's if you have the ability and someone has the need, then those people who have some capacity, we try to step up and we try to look out for each other, particularly in the absence of systems
right.
that are supposed to be there to help.
Yeah.
And when we don't have
Yeah,
those systems, then we have to look out for each other. We really don't have a choice.
we do. And that's one of the things that's really amazing about being connected to organizers in countries where government systems are pretty absent is that they are very knowledgeable about how to do this mutual aid work. This is real for them, and they have so much to teach us as we're trying to build similar community networks. So there's so much wisdom, and that's another dream of mine with this nonprofit, is that we can help connect these networks of mutual aid groups, because there is so much knowledge and creativity that we can learn from each other's projects and each other's wisdom.
We're not. It's not theoretical for a lot of folks, is
Right. That's
it?
exactly right. Yeah.
So, um, I don't know if we touched on this, but I'll put it out there one more time. And so we talked about some of the challenges that your organization faces in the work that you do, and now, what are some of the challenges that you think that you find? And you actually sort of touched on this a little bit with this last story, but the things that are when people are coming together, what are some of the things that you, whether they have to do with your organization or not, what are some sort of bumpy things that people might want to think about as they are trying to um, build community?
Hmm. I mean, people are so scared of each other right now. I feel like figuring out way, and I love that you keep sort of going back to the block party example, because I think that's such a good way to start. It's just bringing people together in a fun and beautiful way to get to know each other, because I feel like right now there are so many people who have an urge to be in community and to start doing something, because the world is not the way we want it to look, and it's become more obvious to a lot of people very recently. um, but sort of not knowing who to reach out to and who you can trust and talk to, I think that's a huge issue. I think sometimes we get in our own way with thinking about what level of organization we need to get something done. And and I love it when people just start and don't really know how it's going to turn out. They're just creative and brave, and I think you draw people to you when you do that. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Sometimes, I'm a victim of this. Like I will overthink something sometimes. Like I will overthink stuff and get too into the weeds with it when I just should just do it. And the thing will tell you what it needs as you do the thing.
yes,
You're not going to figure it all
exactly.
out before you do the thing. You have to actually do the thing, and the thing will tell you, no, we need to do this, and then you just pivot.
Yeah,
um but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think, before you ask people to do work, you have to create the networks of friendship and camaraderie that make it possible. Like let's go and collect all the trash off the street. Nobody's showing up for that. Mm-mm.
right.
Nobody's showing up for that.
Yeah.
But if you're giving away food, you can get a few people down the street to show up for that.
Food is the secret. Food is really the secret.
So, Sarah, I don't know if there's anything else that you would love to share with our audience at Free Life Nation. or if anything that you want to impart in your years of wisdom and all of the work that you're doing, I would love to give you an opportunity to do that if you'd like.
I don't have much. I again, one of the great privileges of the organization that I'm organizing with now is just getting to watch all of the great work that other folks are doing, and just kind of being a observer of their organizing process, and it's really encouraging. So I think my advice, for folks who are wondering if they can do something, what they should do, or for people who are not having a lot of hope in the current atmosphere, like I'm seeing so much happen. I can't be pessimistic because I know that the work is getting done, and I know that we have ancestors who have survived much more horrific conditions than what we are living in at this moment, and there's so much wisdom there. And there's so much wisdom from the organizers throughout our network. So trust your creativity, trust your idea, trust your neighbors, and be a little brave to do the work, because that's how it happens.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. And by the way, feel free to let anybody in your network know that they can come and share with us, because that's part of why we do this podcast. We want
I will.
to,
I think that'd be
yeah,
great. Yeah, and
yeah, we
I
want
again,
people to know what other people are doing in their communities, because, like you said, there's so much cool stuff going on out there. And I think when we see that other people are doing things, um, it's inspiring. And some of the things may be things that we can do right now that we want to do right now, but some of them be like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's put that on the shelf. Or some is like, well, let's plan long term to do this thing that we want to
right.
do. And so part of why we do this podcast is to educate people. We want to inspire other people. We want others to be able to come to have a repository of places they can go to be like, oh, wow, refrigerator, that sounds like a great idea. How did you even
Yeah,
do that? And the thing is, could you just,
right.
and to be able to share that, like you said, sharing these wisdoms and these processes. Because if I want to do something like that in my community, how do I do it? Well, the best way to find out is to talk to somebody that's already doing it. Like,
Yeah,
to find out, well, how did you guys do it, and what did you do first, and then what did you do next, and where did you find the refrigerator,
right.
and like how did you find a business, and like all of those very real questions are things that I think people will want. So that's part of the reason why we do this, what we're doing, and we're going to be
Yeah,
connecting a whole lot of
I
really
love
cool
it,
content.
and I for sure will connect you with it. I think the fridges project is a super accessible project for lots of folks, and even before a fridge, like a free little pantry,
Yep,
like the free little libraries people do, you can
yep,
do
yep,
one as a food pantry.
yep.
Um, and it's cool to see how just starting with something small like that starts to turn into this like whole network of like, oh, we need to address systemic food insecurity and food sovereignty in our community, and all of a sudden there's this bigger thing. And the way it brings people together to get to know each other and take care of each other is really cool to see.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I am so grateful again for your willingness to chat with me today and to share
Well,
with
thank you
everybody.
for this. This is your launch for this is like the perfect time, because I think the world is so hungry for this right now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how it flourishes.
Thank you so much. Everybody, that scroller down at the bottom says nonprofit.fund. That is Sarah's um, organization that she's a part of. I don't want to use the hierarchical language, but
I know.
this was the brainchild, her brainchild, and she's got some amazing people that she's working alongside. And this is what we really want to help everyone understand, that this is an organization that can help facilitate some of the types of administrative things that you don't want to deal with in your community when you're trying to put together that block party or that free store or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Um, they can you can have a conversation with them and see how you can work together to make that a reality. and without a whole lot of red tape on your side of the community. And it's going to help you. It's going to help you with accountability and credibility in your community so that when you're raising money, people not looking at you sideways like, well, I don't know. I ain't trying to give you that $20. Your car looks like it needs some work. I might never see it again. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. So please go and check out nonprofit.fund. If you need to reach out, please feel free to reach out to her. And I just am so grateful. Thank you so much. And we will see you on the next